You have probably seen the pictures. Massive floating islands of garbage that look solid enough to walk on. We're told this is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a monster twice the size of Texas. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those photos are almost always fake. They're usually taken in coastal bays, not the middle of the ocean. The reality is far more terrifying than a floating landfill you can see. It is an invisible, toxic soup that has already infected the deepest parts of our planet. And now, for the first time in history, we actually have a price tag to fix it. The Ocean Cleanup Organization has officially estimated the cost at $7.5 billion. That sounds like a fortune until you realize Americans spend more than that on Halloween decorations every single year. But as we deploy massive machines to scrub the surface, a darker crisis is unfolding beneath the waves. Because while we're busy looking at the floating bottles, we are missing the 99% of the plastic that has already disappeared.
If you sailed through the garbage patch today, you might be surprised by what you see, or rather, what you don't see. It doesn't look like a solid island of trash. It looks like an endless bowl of pepper soup. Billions of tiny, fragmented microplastics are suspended in the water column, making the ocean look deceptively clear from a distance. But the surface is just the tip of the iceberg. New research from 2024 has uncovered a massive reservoir that we didn't know existed. Scientists from CSIRO and the University of Toronto estimate that up to 11 million tons of plastic are currently sitting on the ocean floor. This deep-sea sink holds up to 100 times more plastic than what is floating on the surface. It is an abyssal snowfall of toxic dust, slowly coating the seabed in a synthetic layer. This changes everything about the cleanup mission. We aren't just cleaning a swimming pool. We're trying to vacuum a carpet while the house is still flooding. And the density of this pollution is growing faster than our ability to track it. Between 2015 and 2022 alone, the concentration of debris hotspots increased tenfold. The clock is ticking, and the ocean is becoming a plastic minefield.
For years, critics said cleaning the open ocean was physically impossible. They said it would take thousands of years and cost too much energy. But they were thinking about nets and boats. They weren't thinking about artificial intelligence. Enter System 03. This isn't just a barrier, it is a massive autonomous hunting machine. Spanning nearly 2.5 kilometers in length, it sweeps an area the size of a football field every 5 seconds. But the real magic happens in the cloud. Partnering with Amazon Web Services, the ocean cleanup is now using AI modeling to predict exactly where the plastic will drift. Instead of blindly patrolling the ocean, System 03 actively hunts down high-density hotspots. This shift from passive drifting to active propulsion boosted their efficiency by over 60%. The results are staggering. In 2024 alone, they removed a record-breaking 11.5 million kilograms of trash. That is more than all previous years combined. By late 2025, that total reportedly climbed to over 45 million kilograms. It turns out, when you stop treating the ocean like a mystery and start treating it like a data problem, the impossible becomes an engineering challenge.
But here's the problem with mopping the floor. It doesn't matter how fast you work if the tap is still running wide open. Research shows that 80% of river plastic comes from just 1,000 rivers worldwide. To stop this bleeding, engineers had to move upstream. This led to the Interceptor program, a fleet of solar-powered barges that eat trash before it hits the ocean. The most dramatic example of this is happening right now in Guatemala. The Rio Las Vacas was infamous for its trash tsunamis, where flash floods would flash millions of pounds of waste into the Caribbean Sea overnight. It was an environmental disaster. But the deployment of Interceptor 006 changed the game. It stopped the tsunami in its tracks. Now, in late 2024, they have deployed Interceptor 021, the largest barricade ever built, to act as the final line of defense for the Gulf of Honduras. This isn't just cleanup, it is a planetary shield. And these machines are proving that we don't have to accept rivers as conveyor belts for waste.
If the environmental damage doesn't scare you, perhaps the medical data will. For a long time, we thought plastic pollution was just an eyesore, something that hurt turtles and seagulls. But we were wrong. It is hurting us. A disturbing study from the University of New Mexico, published in early 2025, dropped a bombshell. They analyzed human brain tissue samples collected in 2024. What they found was terrifying. The concentration of microplastics in our brains has increased by 50% in just the last 8 years. Our brains are accumulating plastic 7 to 30 times faster than our livers or kidneys. Even worse, samples from patients with dementia showed significantly higher plastic loads. We are literally breathing, eating, and drinking our own waste. The barrier between the environment and our biology has completely collapsed. This is no longer just an ocean problem. It is a public health emergency happening inside your own skull.
So who is responsible for this mess? If you ask the petrochemical industry, they will tell you it's a waste management issue. They want you to believe that if we just recycle better, the problem goes away. But the data tells a very different story. In November 2024, an explosive investigation exposed the Alliance to End Plastic Waste. This group includes industry giants like ExxonMobil and Shell. They promised to divert millions of tons of plastic from the environment. But here's the catch. Over a 5-year period, the members of this alliance produced 132 million tons of new plastic. That is 1,000 times more plastic than they managed to clean up. For every single kilogram they removed from the environment, they pumped a metric ton of fresh plastic into the market. It is the definition of greenwashing. They are funding cleanups with pocket change while doubling down on the very material that is choking the planet. It is a perfect distraction, designed to keep the factories running while we cheer for the cleanup boats.
You might hope that world governments would step in to stop this madness. But the political system is just as gridlocked as the ocean currents. For years, the United Nations has been trying to forge a global plastics treaty. The goal was simple: cap plastic production to stop the bleeding. But in late 2024 and again in August 2025, the negotiations collapsed. A small group of powerful petrostates blocked every attempt to limit production. They argued that we should focus only on recycling, ignoring the fact that recycling rates have been stagnant for decades. The diplomatic failure is absolute. While engineers are breaking records in the Pacific, politicians are failing in the conference rooms. Without a legally binding cap on production, the ocean cleanup will never put itself out of business. They will be trapped in an eternal loop, cleaning up a mess that grows larger every day. While humans argue in boardrooms, nature is beginning to take matters into its own hands, and the results are bizarre. We are seeing the rise of the Plastisphere. This is a new synthetic ecosystem evolving on the surface of the trash. Bacteria are adapting in real time. A 2025 study found a specific genetic mutation in marine microbes across the globe. They are evolving enzymes specifically designed to digest PET plastic. It sounds like a miracle, but it opens up a Pandora's box of questions. If we scrub the ocean clean, are we destroying a new habitat? Some biologists worry that cleanup systems might harm the neuston, the delicate life floating on the surface. The ocean cleanup argues that the benefits outweigh the risks, citing data that shows minimal bycatch. But it forces us to ask a difficult question. Have we altered the planet so fundamentally that even the bacteria are changing to survive us? We are standing at a crossroads. On one side, we have the technology to fix this. We have AI-driven barriers, river interceptors, and a proven roadmap to remove 90% of floating plastic. We know it costs $7.5 billion. We know it works. But on the other side, we have a tap that refuses to close. We have rising production, political cowardice, and a health crisis that is infiltrating our own bodies. The ocean cleanup is a mop. It is a high-tech, incredibly efficient mop, but a mop cannot save a house if the pipes are still bursting. The next decade will decide whether we are cleaning the ocean for the future or just making room for the next wave of trash. What do you think is the real solution here? Is it the technology, or do we need to ban the plastic at the source? Let me know your take in the comments below.